Good afternoon, everyone. Bon après-midi, tout le monde, et bienvenue ici à l'Hôtel de Ville. Welcome to our first public session of 2025. I'd like to call this meeting to order.
Your Worship, all public meetings of Moncton City Council are simultaneously translated. Hearing devices are available. If you have the right to address council in the official language of your choice. Meetings are also simulcast on both languages on the City of Moncton YouTube channel, and it can be found on our website at moncton.ca. If you have registered with the City Clerk's office prior to the agenda deadline, 7 days before the meeting, you will be given 5 minutes for your presentation. Other public presentations will be given 2 minutes. You will receive a reminder when 1 minute is remaining. Please note, no presenter shall speak disrespectfully of council, staff, or a member of the general public. The use of offensive or profane language will not be tolerated. Any breach of this guideline may result in the presenter being asked to leave the council chambers at the discretion of the chair. Un service d'interprétation simultanée est offert durant nos réunions. Vous avez le droit de parler dans la langue officielle de votre choix. Les casques d'écoute servent à la traduction sont disponibles. Ces réunions sont diffusées en français et en anglais sur la plateforme YouTube. Les réunions sont également diffusées sur l'Internet à moncton.ca. Si vous vous êtes inscrit auprès du bureau de la greffière avant la date limite, c'est-à-dire 16 jours avant la séance, vous aurez 5 minutes pour effectuer votre présentation. Toute autre présentation du public aura droit à 2 minutes. Une cloche sonne, il y aura un timer qui vous indiquera qu'il vous reste qu'1 minute. S'il vous plaît, notez, aucun présentateur ne devra manquer de respect lorsqu'il parlera du conseil, d'un membre du personnel ou du grand public. Le langage blasphématoire et les propos offensants ne seront pas tolérés. Le président ou la présidente pourra demander à tous ceux qui enfreignent cette directive de quitter la salle du conseil.
Merci, Madame la greffière. Are there any changes to today's agenda?
Yes, there is an addition of a 2-minute presentation by Susan Trites for the 80th anniversary of the liberation of Auschwitz. And also we are removing item 12.1, resolution on animal control.
Thank you. Councillor Bourgeois.
Merci, Madame la Maire. We would have to explain to our citizens why Council will be disrespecting our procedural bylaw this evening by excluding a vote on my motion for a committee. And I'll take advantage of the opportunity to express a little bit of my frustration on this. Section 15 of our procedural bylaw is arguably the most ridiculous hindrance to Council's democratic authority. It forces us councillors to wait an entire month normally before our motions can be deliberated and voted upon. By comparison, staff need wait a week or so for a decision. I have repeatedly argued for its removal and made a motion to that effect, but the majority of council maintained it. That's okay. Today we have before us another example of why Section 15 is a ridiculous hindrance and therefore should be removed. On December 11th, I notified the City Clerk's office that I was going to make a motion to establish a Council Committee on Multiculturalism during the December 16 meeting. On December 16th, in respect of City Council's procedural bylaw, the motion was read but not debated or decided. According to our procedural bylaw, Council would have to wait until today, January 20th. However, that will not happen. Today, we are going to disrespect our procedural bylaw. I know what the explanation is, and I understand and accept it. I do not blame staff. Somebody else is responsible for the agenda. Regardless, it behooves Council to explain why we are about to disrespect our own rules. And as a consequence, 7 weeks will pass since the motion was read before it will be finally discussed and probably voted on. If Section 15 was not already ridiculous, it is now. Merci, Madame la Maire.
Thank you. Mr. CEO, would you like to address this?
Thank you, Mayor and Councillor. Again, as indicated, unfortunately, administration was unable to have the response ready for today's meeting. We've advised Council yesterday that we would be delaying bringing that motion forward or to debate that motion till February 3rd. As it is for the procedural bylaw, speaking with staff today, we will be bringing forward either in February or March at the Committee of the Whole, conversation about the procedural bylaw, review of some of the elements of it, and again, asking council at that point in time some of those changes that they would like to bring to the procedural bylaw.
Terrific. With that, could I have a motion to accept today's agenda? Thank you, Councillor Legere. Is there a seconder? Councillor Edgett. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Next would be the conflict of interest.
I do not see any. Thank you.
There are no adoption of minutes nor consent agenda this evening. First is public presentations, les exposés du public. And the first up today is a presentation honoring the lives in 2024 while homelessness and/or vulnerable housed. And it's Andrea Ann is here to provide that presentation.
Thank you. And I would just like to mention today that we will take all the presentations and then entertain questions after all of them, if that's okay. Thank you. The floor is yours. You just need to press your microphone. And there you go.
Perfect. Thank you so much. For today's presentation, there actually will be no slides. I'm just going to say a few words and a reading of the names. So good afternoon, Your Worship, Mayor Don Arnold, as well as Council. Thank you for the opportunity again to come in front of you and speak today on behalf of the Greater Moncton Homeless Steering Committee. Today we come together to honor and remember the 47 individuals we've lost in 2024. These are not just names on a list. They were cherished friends, loved family members, and members of our community, each with their own stories, dreams, and connections to others. As we read their names, let us reflect not only on the profound challenges they faced, but also the humanity they shared. May we hold their memories close, not just as a reminder of the struggles they endured, by the struggles of their friends that are still enduring those, but also a call to action to build a community rooted in compassion, dignity, and support for all. May their lives inspire us to work together toward meaningful change. Ryan W., Joseph M., Jeffrey T., Gary M., Marc-Andre G., Brittany A., Victor S., Mathieu B., Jenny L., Miguel P., Anthony G., Tabitha N., Aaron S., Lucas P., Mariah Z., Jamie M., John Jr. R., Jason B., Wayne L., Denny A., Tanya G., Bradley D., Alexander B., Natalie L., Jesse S., Benjamin B., Vasil W., John G., Sarah N., Brody M., Terry O., Stephen D., Whitney T., Richard G., Leona S., Tina G., Giuliano D., Rodney F., Richard E., Michael M., Jonathan G., Mike F., Dale G., Arthur M., Brody L., Tim H., and Patricia H. I would ask that we take a moment of silence for 1 minute in remembrance of them. The ages of these individuals ranged from 23 years old to 70 that we have lost in our community in 2024. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrea.
La prochaine présentation, c'est une présentation Habitation pour la vie, Inc., puis ça sera fait par Sœur Auréa Cormier. Can we bring up the PowerPoint presentation?
Alors, je vais vous décrire ce soir un projet que nous avons organisé qui s'appelle Habitation pour la vie. Alors, le projet c'est un organisme à but non lucratif et puis il a été incorporé avec la province en 2023, puis il est également reconnu par l'Agence de revenus du Canada. Puis notre projet a quelque chose de particulier, c'est que il est né d'un consensus entre 7 citoyens qui voulaient vraiment s'impliquer pour du logement abordable. Alors, ces personnes-là sont... attends une minute, là, c'est... faut que j'avance mes diapositives.
Juste taper sur l'écran.
OK, merci. Alors, ces personnes-là, c'est Nicolas Calgora, Lujan Saint-Île, Isabelle Lavoie, Paulette Dionne, moi-même, Alphonse Dionne et Marie-Éva Godette. Alors, ce qui nous a inspiré, c'est une phrase de Margaret Mead qui dit « Never doubt that a small group of committed people can change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that ever has. » Alors, notre objectif, c'est de réduire la pauvreté en fournissant des logements abordables à des femmes et à leurs enfants qui vivent dans la pauvreté. Puis, on a pensé de construire des unités confortables, modestes, à des tarifs de location inférieurs à la valeur marchande et très écologiques aussi. Alors, il y a un bel aspect intergénérationnel dans notre projet. On rassemble des mères monoparentales et des femmes âgées et des liens pourraient se créer entre les locataires et des services d'entraide émergeront probablement peu à peu. On a ici une vue aérienne. On est au centre de Moncton, sur la rue Pine, sur un lot de 10 000 pieds carrés, près des trajets d'autobus, d'une pharmacie, de l'école Edith Cavell, de dépanneurs, d'un jardin communautaire et du parc Victoria. Nous autres, on a voulu confier le projet à Dieu. Et puis, les membres du conseil d'administration ont enfoui les médailles de Marie aux 4 coins du lot. Les plans du building ont été faits par 46 North Design Studio. Vous voyez une photo. C'est un bâtiment à 2 étages et une attique. Il comprendra 8 unités ayant une chambre à coucher et 7 unités ayant 2 chambres à coucher. Il y aura une salle commune pour favoriser l'esprit communautaire. Puis la fondation a déjà été mise en place en novembre de cette année. Puis on a choisi Donna Ferguson comme la personne qui bâtirait notre bâtiment. Elle est dans ce travail-là depuis 35 ans, puis elle possède She Builds Community for Life. Et c'est une femme avec une belle conscience sociale qui souhaite réduire la pauvreté des personnes, surtout celle des femmes et de leurs enfants. Le coût total du projet est de 3,2 millions. Puis dans la figure ici, on voit que 1,227 millions vont être offerts par Habitation Nouveau-Brunswick. Dans le côté orange, ça, ce sont tous les dons que le public a fait parce qu'il est touché par la qualité du projet qu'on fait. Je veux remercier beaucoup la ville de Moncton qui va nous donner 320 000 $. Joss Davies nous a mis sur son projet, puis ça va nous aider énormément. Et puis, on a aussi eu du financement du Fonds monétaire vert. On veut que notre bâtiment soit très éco-énergétique. Ils nous ont accordé 99 000. On va avoir d'autres fonds, puis on pense qu'on n'aura peut-être pas besoin d'une hypothèque. Parce qu'on a un cabinet de sollicitation qui est coprésidé par Aléa Landry de Landal Inc. et par Jeremy Nelson de Placement Louisbourg. Puis ça comprend 10 autres éminents membres dans ce cabinet-là. Notre objectif, c'est de recueillir 700 000 $. Alors, en conclusion, notre groupe Habitation pour la vie est géré par des bénévoles soucieux de réduire la pauvreté. 15 locataires seront choisis par le ministère du Développement social et auront accès à un logement abordable vers la fin de novembre de cette année. Et puis, les membres du conseil d'administration sont vraiment engagés, puis ils veulent poursuivre un autre projet de construction de logements abordables. Merci.
Merci, Sœur Auréa.
The next presentation is a presentation update on Salvis Clinic by Deborah Thompson, Executive Director.
Could I just get you to press your microphone? There you go.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, Your Worship and members of council. This is my first opportunity to address you, so I'm very excited. I've also just come from the dentist, so I'm still half frozen. So I am not aware of the last time Salvis Clinic has had an opportunity to address council, and I am just completing my first 3 months, so thank you for celebrating my probation together. I am the new Executive Director of Salvis Clinic, and I wanted to provide you with just a short presentation on a little bit of history of Salvis, assuming that we can walk that journey together. So Salvis Clinic is a community clinic founded in 2007 in Moncton, and was really brought together by Dr. Kraus to meet a growing and complex need of vulnerable populations in our Moncton area. And in 2014, it became registered as a charity. The mission of the organization is to provide access to primary health care, housing supports, and service navigation to those in our community who are not surviving and experiencing barriers related to homelessness, poverty, mental health, and substance use. Salvis proved last year to be an organization that was adaptive and flexible during a period where they had to make a large move from Church Street location, where they were since 2007, to the two most current locations. So the clinical arm, the Horizon Health part of our organization, is on 1116 Mountain Road, where we have approximately 17 staff caring for the needs of not only the homeless, but also those who are living with poverty and or those who do not have a family physician, and you can well imagine they're very busy. We at the housing side and social services support side of the organization are on 272 St. George, where we have now approximately 24 staff working with about 160 clients. We are governed by a board of directors, and you'll see the names up there. You will recognize most of these people, I would think, and a lovely group of people that I am very proud to work with. Some of our community partners, we would very much like to honor and thank the City of Moncton for all the work that they have done and continue to do with our bus, and with also ongoing funding. We also work with Horizon Health Network, Vitalite, United Way of Moncton, Social Development, Housing New Brunswick, and all local shelters, and many, many other organizations. We're also a proud member of the Greater Moncton Homeless Steering Committee. I wanted to spend just a couple of minutes here. This is a very quick conservative snapshot of what Salva's Clinic has done in the last year or so. We have worked with, at the clinic side, approximately 660 nurse practitioners saw 660 unique individuals. Registered nurses saw over 517. LPNs saw over 139, and social workers 104. And these are very conservative estimates, and that's just on the clinic side. From the social services side, we work with every day of approximately 160 of the most highest acuity in our community. And these are people who are housed, who still need everyday care to make sure that they're going to stay housed and be successful in their everyday life. We also have a number of navigators who are the ones that go into the areas of encampments or along the city streets to find Joe, who may be needed for a documentation or for an appointment, who's not housed. So we have amazing staff who will go out of their way, morning, night, and weekend, to make sure that the most vulnerable of our community are not left alone. And we work with them on a daily basis. Looking into the future, Salvas is looking at ways that we can bring our two sides of our business back together under the same roof. There's a couple of opportunities coming down the road. These are early days, but we hope to be able to provide you with an update when that happens. It is the will of the people, the community, I believe the city, and also the province, to make sure that we can provide the best support possible for the people that we work with. And we hope to be able to do that under one roof. Would like to thank you all for your time, and I look forward to coming back to make another presentation on the update of Salvas Clinic. Have a good afternoon.
Thank you, Deborah.
Our final presentation is a 2-minute presentation by Susan Trites.
Good afternoon. The bar seems to be set very high today in terms of presentations. Good afternoon, Mayor Arnold and Council. My name is Suzanne Trites. I am the New Brunswick representative of the International Christian Embassy Jerusalem Canada team. Next Monday, January 28th, is a very significant day for the Jewish people around the world. It represents the liberation of the German Nazi Auschwitz-Birkenau concentration and extermination camp. This year especially, the 80th anniversary of that incredible liberation. Our Canadian government will be taking this opportunity to remember the victims of the atrocities of the Holocaust and reflect on the dangers of anti-Semitism. Locally, shared with me by Francis, the president of the local synagogue, we had two precious people liberated from Auschwitz. Sulamit, in April of 2013, passed away, and Joseph Cohn, in November of 2020, were both in Auschwitz. Joseph was 16, and Sulamit was a year or two younger, and met in January 1945. They both met also after the war in England. They fell in love and married in 1948. They didn't know each other before the war, although they lived on the same street in Warsaw. Later, they moved to Canada, settled in Moncton, New Brunswick in 1958, and had two children. Joseph had a successful curtain business on High Street. They are both buried in the Jewish cemetery. They are a blessed memory, as the Jewish people say of the departed. Liberation of the Jewish people is very significant this year, especially after witnessing the release of the three very precious young Jewish ladies, Romy, Emily, and Duran, just 24 hours ago, who had been kept in captivity for over 470 very long days in Gaza. Liberation is indeed a very precious word to the Jewish people today. I have requested City Hall, Avenir Center, and Downing Street be lit in blue on this sobering and sacred day, memorializing the victims of the Holocaust and more personally showing honor of the people of our local Jewish community. I've requested that for next Monday. I'm also requesting a post be published next Monday on the City of Moncton Facebook page to bring awareness to the greater Moncton communities as the significance of these three locations being lit in blue. Francis has given me permission to write up a little paragraph in both official languages to be posted on the Facebook page. Thank you.
Thank you, Suzanne. At this time, are there any questions from council? First up, Councillor LeBlanc.
Ça serait pas une question, ça serait de dire merci. Merci pour tout le travail que vous faites pour les sans-abri, les deux communautés. Madame Thompson et Auréa Cormier, continuez et puis je respecte qu'est-ce que vous faites et puis c'est très important pour la ville de Moncton. Merci.
La conseillère, oh, excusez-moi, Deputy Mayor Thériault.
Merci, Madame la maire. En fait, je partage les mêmes sentiments que ma collègue, la conseillère Leblanc. Donc, merci à vous tous. Mais j'aurais une question. J'ai été très touchée, d'ailleurs, par la liste de noms que vous nous avez présentée. Et merci de nous rappeler que ces gens-là sont des gens comme nous, des gens de la communauté. C'est facile d'oublier. Donc, merci beaucoup. Puis, Sœur Auréa, merci pour ce que vous faites, mais j'ai une question pour vous. Votre projet, est-ce que votre projet est unique en son genre à Moncton? Est-ce qu'on a du logement pour des mères parents uniques et des personnes âgées? Est-ce que c'est quelque chose qui existe déjà à Moncton ou c'est un projet qui est tout à fait novateur?
Est-ce que vous pouvez utiliser le micro, s'il vous plaît? Juste pousser le bouton. Excusez. Merci.
Je voudrais oui, il y a des groupes qui font de l'excellent travail. Je pense par exemple à Rising Tide, qui fait beaucoup de travail. Notre groupe est particulier dans le sens que on vise à aider les personnes qui sont en attente d'un logement subventionné. Puis on a regardé les données, puis on a vu que les mamans monoparentales sont très hautes sur la liste, puis les femmes seules, les femmes âgées sont aussi, un grand nombre d'entre elles sont sous le seuil de la pauvreté. Maintenant, ce qui nous caractérise aussi, c'est qu'on est un petit groupe de gens bien ordinaires qui avons conscientisé l'importance de s'impliquer pour régler des problèmes. Et nous avons opté pour attaquer celui du logement. Une autre chose aussi qui nous caractérise, c'est que grâce au Fonds monétaire vert, on veut construire un logement particulièrement éco-énergétique. Puis je veux remercier le conseiller Charles Légère qui a servi de lien pour nous. Nous avons obtenu à peu près 100 000 $ pour financer ce projet-là. Alors, merci à Charles.
Merci beaucoup. Merci, Sœur Auréa. Et merci à toute votre équipe qui sont ici. Merci.
Councillor Bourgeois.
Merci, Madame la maire. À votre groupe, Sœur Auréa, merci d'avoir investi dans cette partie-là de la ville qui est un petit peu fragile maintenant et qui est un petit peu délabrée, abandonnée, mais avec un beau projet comme ça, ça pourrait mener à d'autres choses aussi. Ça fait merci d'avoir osé investir dans cette région-là de la ville. Merci. Merci, Madame la maire.
Councillor Kingston.
Thank you, Madame Addis. For Deborah, could you come up for 1 second? I just wanted to, I think you touched on it again, and great work by Salvis, but the navigator's role to me is, that jumped right off the page because I think everyone on council at some point or another, and yourself, we've talked to people on the street, whether casual conversation or we run into people and they refuse to go to a clinic, they refuse to go to a shelter. Where are they going at night? We don't know. Where do they sequester, if you will?
Yeah, depending
and
on
the
the time of
navigators have
year.
to go out and find these people and actually get them to engage in. It's amazing work. Could you expand a little more on the navigator for us?
Yeah, I hope to give that answer some justice. I mean, it depends on the time of year. right? If it's spring, summer, and fall, they're staying where they stay. And our navigators are people that usually have lived experience, so they already have a pre-existing relationship, so they'll go to them. And they will build up that trust and rapport, and it takes time. It can take almost a year to really get somebody to trust you. In the wintertime, hopefully, they'll come into one of our emergency shelters, and hopefully by then we have a little bit of more of a response for them. We have been making some headway with housing, but it's still a challenge, as everyone knows. So really what we do is we just try to bring home to them as much as possible and build that respect, build that trust. We will get you through multiple layers of funding opportunities to take them in, get them a meal, do their paperwork while they're having a meal, you know, have that kind of trust done. People go out of their way in this community, and truly, I see it in all respects, faith community, organizations, and just the regular people on the street. And I've heard of Mayor Arnold going and Narcaning people too, I believe. But people do, oh, okay, over here. People doing the best for folk, you know, and we meet them where they're at. And we truly do believe that we have to meet them where they're at. Everybody has a journey. Nobody in their infancy said that they wanted to grow up and be homeless.
Right.
They wanted to grow up and be something. And some of them have accomplished great things in their life, but life happens.
How many
Life happens.
navigators, Deborah, would there be?
Right now, we only have two.
Two.
Amazing young people. Amazing young people. One of our navigators is a young female. A good wind would blow her down the street, but she's got the heart of a lion. We're hoping to get another one on board starting in the new fiscal year.
That's great, because even though with this 3-day cold snap we're having, we still see people surviving and enduring these temperatures. They're not overnighting anywhere is the sad part, and
Yeah.
this is where that Salvis comes in to make a key
Absolutely.
contribution. Thank
Absolutely.
you, Deborah.
Thank you so
Merci,
much.
Madame Madas. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Legier.
Merci, Madame la mairesse, et merci, Sarah Réa. Tu certainement es un exemple d'une personne remarquable, en fait, toutes les choses dont tu es impliqué. Puis, certainement, ça nous fait plaisir au Conseil de vous appuyer. J'espère que nous pourrons peut-être dans nos années qui s'en viennent avoir autant d'énergie que vous. Mais c'est certain que vous avez identifié un manque spécifique dans la liste d'attente et puis pour du logement. Et c'est certain que de plus, si on peut encore vous appuyer de plus, ça nous ferait plaisir. Et c'est certain que sans vous et d'autres organismes, on ne peut pas le faire. Donc, de nouveau, je vous remercie. Je remercie aussi Aldea. Tu es toujours impliqué aussi. Donc, vous faites un bon partenariat les deux. Puis, c'est bien de voir que Jeremy est impliqué et puis la communauté. Donc, anyway, merci pour votre participation active à la réalisation de ce projet-là. Donc, merci.
I don't see any other questions at this time, but a real heartfelt thank you to all of our presenters tonight who are doing such important work in our community. It is incredibly appreciated, and how fortunate are we to live in a community that has such caring individuals. So thank you very much.
Next would be administration presentation, c'est présentation de l'administration. Et ce soir, c'est une mise à jour de la GRC avec notre superintendant du service général Kodiak de la GRC, Benoît Jolet.
Bon après-midi tout le monde. Good afternoon, everybody. I know we're January 20th. I won't wish everybody a happy new year, but what I'll wish is that I'd like to wish Moncton Council, city staff, and all the residents of Moncton a happy and prosperous 2025. I look forward to working with Moncton Council and everybody that's involved in public safety in 2025 in this very exciting year, specifically for us as we continue to grow. I'll jump right in on some of the updates since I last reported to council before the Christmas holidays. So on December 17th, I joined, there was actually 15 of us, members from community policing, patrol, Crime Reduction Unit, General Investigations Section, everyone, all hands on deck for a volunteer effort at Beaverbrook School. We served the total of 500 lunches to all the kids and staff, students at the school. I'd like to specifically thank the dedicated volunteers that prepared the meals at the St. Philip's Church for the amazing work, and for everyone at Beaverbrook School for sharing in the holiday cheer. For those that aren't aware, this is, I think it was year 20 this year that we've had a chance to bring these meals to the students at Beaverbrook School, and a lot of work goes into it, specifically for the volunteers that were making the meals. A little bit, I guess, apropos what was just shared regarding the individuals who are living rough in our community and suffering from social issues. So I'd like to report to council is since the opening of the Out of the Cold shelter, Kodiak RCMP has been meeting up to 3 times a week with our community partners in the downtown and those that work tirelessly on social issues. And since the Out of the Cold portion has opened, we have seen a reduction in calls for service in the surrounding areas and involving the individuals that are at most risk dealing with social issues. We have seen a larger number of calls at the shelter because there's a larger population of individuals that are staying there. But what I'd like to advise council is that unfortunately there's still roughly 30 beds approximately every night that are still empty. So that shows that we still have tremendous work to do with our community organizations, the community policing unit, and all the organizations that are involved with helping individuals who are suffering from various social issues. Next, regarding our crime reduction unit, our members on the Crime Reduction Unit have been working on a targeted drug enforcement initiative in partnership with the Federal Serious and Organized Crime Section since the beginning of the new year. I'll be able to provide further details on this, on the operation and the results in my next appearances at Moncton Council. A couple of the highlights since I last reported regarding our General Investigation Section. Speaking of the Out of the Cold shelter, one specific incident on mid-December, just before the holidays, we responded to an incident where an individual had injured another with a knife. Following the investigation into the matter, the suspect was charged, entered a guilty plea, and was sentenced on January 8th. Really quick turnaround on this file, approximately a month, and the individual was sentenced to 2 years federal jail time for that incident. On December 28th, we responded to 2 separate incidents involving the same young offender. And this is an individual that we've been dealing with nonstop over the last 2-3 years, property crime, violent offenses. Unfortunately, the individual has a short period of incarceration conditions, but continues the same negative behavior as soon as he's released. And this happened on December 28th, an attempted robbery on Highfield Street. However, the individual was unsuccessful in robbing the individual. It spilled over on Mountain Road. Another attempt of a robbery in a business, and our members arrived within minutes of that call coming in, and we were able to take custody of the young person, and we will charge this individual to the extent of the law. However, as I mentioned in the past, often young offenders specifically are released just based on various case laws and sections of the criminal code regarding young offenders. On January 11th, our Kodiak Patrol members responded to a complaint of another violent offense at a business located on John Street, where a male suspect entered the business and brandished a knife and threatened the employees. He was unsuccessful in obtaining the money or other items and left just minutes before police arrived. And our General Investigation Section has taken carriage of that file, and the file is progressing quite well, and we'll be able to identify the suspect shortly. Another file I'd like to update council on, it's regarding the former teacher in the area, Monsieur Maillet, who was charged with various sexual type offenses, historic sexual assaults. So since January 6th, practically our entire general investigation section team has been in court, as well as other specialists in the RCMP, whether it's forensic identification and truth verification, major crime. And the trial's been ongoing since January 6th, and it should end this week. What I'd like to mention is specifically to thank the victims and the witnesses and also our members at Kodiak for the tireless work. If council remembers, initially there was only a few victims that had come forward, and thanks to a media release, multiple more victims came forward. And again, I just pray that the victims have some sort of closure at the end of this trial, and we'll see what sentencing will bring. Regarding a patrol section, on December 31st at about 9:17 a.m., our members of our patrol team and the Moncton Fire Department and Ambulance New Brunswick responded to a report of a vehicle submerged in the river next to Church Street and Clement Cormier Street in Moncton. A 33-year-old man and a 24-year-old man were found deceased inside the vehicle. As you can imagine, various specialized units and members attended the scene, including the RCMP's traffic reconstructionists, a member of the New Brunswick Coroner's Office, and our investigators from our General Investigation Section. The investigation is ongoing, however, foul play is not suspected at this time. A little bit later that morning, approximately an hour and a half later, members of Patrol Section responded to another collision, this one involving a pedestrian near a business on Mountain Road. The pedestrian was transported to a hospital with serious injuries. The driver and the sole occupant of the vehicle was not injured. And a few days later, the victim, a 60-year-old woman from Moncton, died as a result of her injuries. So I'd just like to share my condolences and sympathies for the families of these three individuals who unfortunately lost their lives here in our area on December 31st. Between January 1st and the 9th of January, Southeast District RCMP responded to a total of 4 robberies in various locations outside of the tri-community, specifically in Memramcook Cook and Sackville. Through the investigation, a primary suspect was identified, and on January 10th, the suspect was located in the Salisbury area. And the reason I'm advising council about this is that it spilled over into the Moncton area. The suspect ended up coming to the Moncton North area near the casino, and due to the violence of the offender and the offenses that he had committed, we requested the help of the emergency response team, and they deployed to the area and took a 45-year-old man from Otabujagan and a 41-year-old woman from Moncton into custody. Kodiak RCMP assisted with the operation, took custody of the 2 prisoners and escorted them to our office, and we've continued to work with Southeast District in assisting them with those files. Finally, regarding our patrol section on January 12th, one of our members was just simply going from call to call and noticed a vehicle that was driving erratically here in town in Moncton. The vehicle was located, pulled over. Male and a female were taken into custody based on seeing illegal items in the back seat. We kept the vehicle and executed a search warrant a few days later. Over 3 kilograms of unstamped and illicit cannabis, various weapons, and an amount of fentanyl were seized. And really great work by one of our junior members, just out there being proactive and looking for various things that are going on in our community. And the last thing that I'll share is today, I had the pleasure of hosting newly minted Minister of Public Safety for New Brunswick, Monsieur Robert Gauvin, at Kodiak RCMP. He wanted to come and see what Kodiak RCMP was all about. I had a chance to show him our current building and speak about the new building, speak to various employees, and then he got in a car with me, and we went on the road and responded to some calls for service and assisted some of our members on our road. So I look forward to continuing to work with him and his team on the various issues that are affecting public safety here in the tri-community. Available for any question.
Terrific, thank you. Councillor Bourgeois.
Merci, Madame la maire. Merci, Monsieur Gillette. D'abord, merci de la présentation. J'apprécie beaucoup ces détails-là. Deuxièmement, bonne année à vous aussi et vous, vos membres. Et relié à ça, je vous souhaite qu'en 2025, notre taux de criminalité ne sera plus le 3e plus élevé au pays. J'espère qu'il va être 13e par la fin de l'année. Et on verra pour 2026, peut-être 23e et autres. Mais je peux juste pas m'empêcher de vous exprimer encore une fois, puis je veux pas vous tanner, mais je sais que vous l'entendez aussi, que les gens, surtout du quartier 2, mais je suis sûr de travers la municipalité, sont tannés, écœurés de se faire casser des choses, voler des choses. Je vous laisse cette information-là à leur bénéfice, de vous répéter le message encore une fois.
Puis je vous remercie, puis conseiller Bourgeois, nous aussi, on est tannés d'être obligés de répondre sans cesse aux mêmes places, avec les mêmes gens, puis tout ça. Puis avec la confiance que les conseils nous ont fait avec qu'est-ce qu'on en garde faire en 2025, c'est exactement le genre d'affaires que nous, on va faire comme commitment pour essayer d'améliorer surtout la qualité, mais aussi augmenter notre taux de, je sais pas le terme en français, notre solvability rate. Surtout, on fait, comme j'ai dit plusieurs fois, on fait une super de bonne job, crime la personne, mais qu'est-ce qu'on doit augmenter, c'est le crime contre les biens. Donc, j'empathise et un message bien reçu.
Merci. Merci, Madame la maire.
Councillor Butler.
Well, thank you, Your Worship, and Happy New Year, Superintendent, and to all the members. I just got a couple things. A few years ago, Councillor Crosman and I went to a CRPA meeting, and I also spoke to Inspector White when he was at one of our meetings regarding the crime map and the way they break down the stats. I just have one up here for in December, and it used to have the break-and enters to be breaking into residence, breaking into business, and other. But now for this last, I'd say 6 months or more, they've lapped it all into one. So when I look at break-and enters now for Moncton, it has 45 break-and enters for a certain time limit. But it doesn't, we don't know if it's break-and enter, if it's more that we should be more closely watching for break-and enters into homes or into businesses or in others. So I'm just wondering, is that, would that be your stats that you're putting out, or is that something that we have to go to the CRPA for?
No, that would be us. And it's, I know it's changed, like I've been here for over 5 years, and the stats and how it's portrayed has changed various times. And again, that's the type of thing that we're always up for conversations, and because we want to be accountable to you and to show exactly what's going on in the community. So
I was just wondering why it was changed. Was there?
yeah, I don't have the answer right now as to why, but it's something that I can easily check.
Okay, so it would be really nice, though, to be able to say that it's a house, a business, or other, being a shed or something. My next question is during the budget, we spoke about the 17, and you needed a certain amount of new members for plain clothes, because there was we talked about the clearance rate. Do you know what off the top, what your clearance rate was for last year?
No, not off the top of my head.
Okay. I'm just wondering if you could send that to us, and I say why, is because when we get them, we'll have something to compare to.
Yeah.
Like, so if it was like, say, 30, if we get 17 new people, is it making a difference?
Yeah, and no, it's a good point, Councillor Butler, and that's exactly, like, we have those statistics for all the years past,
Yep.
and that's exactly is our goal, is that, and it's similar to comments in the past from Councillor Bourgeois as well, too, is that what are we getting for this? What are we going to be getting for the invested? And that's exactly our goal, is to be able to show the solvability rate, whether it's a person crime or a property crime, and then these added resources. That is our commitment, to be able to increase the solvability rate. So those are all information and stats that are going to be shared. Absolutely.
Fair enough. So then the the KPIs will come out through.
Absolutely.
Yeah, all right. My last one is that I've been watching the news, and now that we have a new president of the United States, and he talks about tariffs, and the federal government has jumped all over the border, and the Ottawa was saying regards to that they're going to need more RCMP officers on the border. So, you know, we know that it's been difficult to get members because everybody wants them across Canada, it doesn't matter what province. So with this new border, where they're putting more priority onto it, is that going to hinder us to get our 17 guys in 1 year, or are we going to take 2 years, 3 years?
No, it won't. So just in the little that I know about it, it's a reallocation of federal resources. So Kodiak RCMP members are 90-10 split, so we're considered municipal resources, provincial, but there's a whole gamut of investigators across the country that are 100% paid federal resources. So I already know I have friends that work in Ottawa and other provinces that their day job is as a investigator on whatever section in Ottawa. They're being redeployed to the border. So, and we also have those various sections here across New Brunswick through federal policing. A lot of our members are being deployed to the border areas and border activities. There's no creation of new positions, because creation of new positions, as we see here in our processes, it's a several months, if not years, to be able to create these new positions. So it won't affect us in getting. Plus, J Division RCMP, New Brunswick RCMP is mandated to get on these new positions. So it's supposed to be 12 months that they fill every single one of these positions. So not 2 or 3 years.
12 months, we have our 17 guys.
That's what
Personnel.
It's mandated that they're supposed to deliver within 12 months, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Your Worship.
Oh, thank you. Councillor Legier.
Yeah, thank you. And Happy New Year, and Happy New Year to your members. I was asked by a few residents to ask if I had the opportunity, and I've been noticing it as well, but on our streets, we're noticing, what's being noticed is a lot more vehicles with unreadable license plates. Not your fault, but the license plates date back to when the province issued license plates that the paint peeled off.
Yeah.
And I've noticed an excessive number of vehicles with either front lights burnt out, rear lights burnt out. And I mean, I could probably count 6 or 7 a day just driving around town. So what type of initiatives can you guys do? I mean, I know that eventually you'll have a traffic division, but it's almost like lawlessness in the sense that just do whatever you want to do and it just goes on, and I don't think it sends the right message. And I'm just wondering, are there initiatives that you can do on a weekly basis? It wouldn't take long to. I mean, the number is striking, and if you haven't seen them, I challenge. And are there things that the general public needs to do? I mean, you can't read a license plate. Somebody runs into you and they drive away. And it's not like they have a front plate that you could, because the province did away with that. So are there things that the general public can do, and what message is that sending?
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of questions there. I'll try to answer every one, Councillor Dejas. So the answer is we do it every single day. Like I've mentioned in the past, it's between 300 and 500 traffic tickets are issued every month by Kodiak RCMP. Can we be everywhere? Absolutely not. Specifically for the peeling license plates, I think there was like a 2-year stretch where the license plates were, they tested something anyways. That's an easy phone call, is to say, hey, my neighbor has this or whatever. People can't be afraid of calling, because when we get those phone calls or messages, we go out and we check those things. daily traffic initiatives, like I mentioned before, community policing team, it's like 25% of their time is just doing traffic enforcement. And it's funny that you mentioned light, plate, everything. There's over 400 sections in the New Brunswick Motor Vehicle Act. If you can, just today as I was driving with the minister, pulled over a bunch of cars because it's exactly like you said, Councillor Lejeune. So I passed a car today that chose to just remove the snow on their windshield, and it looked like an iceberg driving down Amiro in Dieppe. And I don't know how they were driving, and they had a brush. It's just they were in a rush. So these are just type of things that we look for on a daily basis, but we're not going to wait for the installation of a traffic team. If it does or it doesn't happen, every member, whether they're if they've been here for a day or if they've been here for 10 years, between calls for service, it's traffic enforcement.
So is there a way to initiate a reporting that maybe, because it's clear you're doing stuff,
Yep.
but it's also clear that people don't know that.
Yeah.
Because there's just, the numbers are so high in
Yeah.
terms, and so perhaps something that could be reported on so that,
Yeah. But no, it's
so that the general public would know and would bring back some added confidence, I guess.
Yeah,
in
why
what's
not
happening.
just look where 2025 is, just thinking outside the box with Melissa, our comms person. Hey, did you know Kodiak RCMP gave 4,500 tickets in 2024? It's a new year. Give us a call if you see a traffic offense.
Yes, okay.
Absolutely.
Perfect. All right, well, thank you. Appreciate that. Look forward to it. Thanks.
Councillor Kingston.
Merci, Madame Maris. Thank you, Ben, and bonne année aussi.
Merci.
Since you had the minister in the car, I'm going to suggest provincially, they went to the 2-year, and in response to Councillor Legier, my own thought, and I worked in the automotive for 20 years, in the private sector, is the 2-year inspection.
Yeah.
It was one, so all of us in the room here had to bring our vehicles at least once a year to get that new sticker. If something's broken, they fixed it. The local service centers in the Moncton area provincially. And they bucked that at the time when it came out. It was a political football, as I remember, in Fredericton. But it would be good to get the 1 year back. I really would support that. I mean, as a Monctonian and as a driver, because that leads to reduced car brakes or the lights. Everything is fixed within a year at least, as opposed to the 2-year now. And that's what we're seeing, I think, too, on the road is let's wait. I don't have to fix that right away. But to Councillor Legier's point, it endangers public safety with one headlight and a series of broken accessories on the car, et cetera.
There's, that's just one of the items. There's a laundry list of various items that we need to focus on. We have a good opportunity right now. We have a new government, we have a new Minister of Public Safety, and now's the time, and we already have started, we don't make the laws, we enforce them, but we can have a strong voice, whether it's the RCMP or elected officials and residents, of what we'd like to see happening in the province here. So, and these things take time. We've been advocating for various things for years, and we're patiently waiting on some of these things.
Okay. Merci, Ben. Thank you. Merci, Madame Alice.
Councillor Crossman.
Thank you, Your Worship. Superintendent, thank you for your presentation. We did exchange the Happy New Year before coming into the room,
Yes.
so I'll exchange it again. You had just talked about your comms division and getting out the idea that, you're going through about 300 or how many tickets a month?
Yeah, it depends. In the summertime, obviously, when roads are nicer, it's sometimes up to 500 a month.
Yeah.
In December, I think it was 296.
I think the citizens of Moncton would be really interested in finding out exactly how much of that funding from those tickets goes to the province. And I know you and I have talked about this a few times at the mic, and the fact that the RCMP are paid for by the tri-community civilians or the citizens of Moncton. But when these tickets are issued, the funding actually goes back to the province of New Brunswick. Is that correct, or a portion of it?
To my knowledge, everything goes back to the province. Where it goes from there, I don't know.
Exactly. So I think that's something that the citizens should be very interested in seeing where that goes through. I agree with you. A new public safety minister is going to do great, and I'm thinking that I'll probably have that conversation down the road with him at some point. Just one comment. Councillor Butler had brought up the 17 members. In addition to the 17 members, there's staffing that these members need. We went through this at budget deliberations. Can you just confirm for me, so that it's correct in my mind, that these members are going to be part of, and I think your terminology is GIS? And that they're going to be plain clothes, and that they're going to go out and they're going to try to bring that solvability of crime down in Greater Moncton?
Yeah, so it's yes and no. It's since we've been there is initially, like, we didn't know what to call it or whatever, but since we've gone through the budget deliberation, we've had time to say, okay, where do we need to throw these people to have the most impact? So it won't necessarily all be on the general investigation section. It's going to be a potential rebranding of all of our investigative services and have dedicated specified teams for specific crime specific crime types. Like right now, our general investigation section works on everything under the sun, and we have a further investigative team that's more property crime but can do sexual assault. So our members are being thrown left and right on whatever is the most high priority file. But now is effectively give a lane, let's just say a property crime team. So then we'll be able to have them attack specifically property crime, and then another, whether it's a vulnerable person team, missing persons, sexual assaults, domestic violence. So then you get ownership, but you also get continued building of, I guess, a specialty in your investigative field. So that's a long answer to say that our new positions will be investigative positions, but also our community policing team that we've had members seconded there for several years is to have even more presence and eliminate the secondments for patrol to send patrol positions back on patrol where they should be.
Okay, good. Thank you, Superintendent. I appreciate that. Thank you.
I don't see any other questions at this time. Thank you, Superintendent, for being here. Thank you for your thorough report.
Merci beaucoup. Thank you.
Your Worship, the next item on the agenda is planning matters, question d'urbanisme, and the first this evening is an introduction to the municipal plan amendment for 70 Queensway Drive, and I see Bill Budd here to give the presentation.
Okay, good evening. We have a new application for an urban boundary amendment. Swipe right? Okay. So this application, it proposes to develop new commercial lot at 70 Queensway. Sort of will feature a new gas station, convenience store, Denny's restaurant, and Starbucks. This property is designated highway commercial in the city zoning bylaw and municipal plan, and these proposed uses are permitted within the bylaw. The municipal plan amendments required to include this in the inside the urban boundary, the urban serviceable boundary, and essentially what that means is it's the area where water and sanitary sewer services are provided, and for properties to connect to them, they have to be located inside that boundary. The applicant is Fens Market, and they're the landowner. So this application's located in Ward 4, and here you can see the general location on the map on the left. It's at the Trans-Canada. It's sort of an interchange gateway into the city at Mapleton Road. A little bit of background. Historically, the parcel of land here was owned by the Department of Transportation and Infrastructure, and they thought they held it for many years, thinking they may need it for transportation improvements. and they eventually decided it wasn't needed, and they disposed of the land in 2023. So the new owner now is hoping to do a highway commercial development. And when you look at the map on the right, Queensway water and sewer services are located within that street right-of-way, and the proposed development are hoping to be able to connect. And keep in mind, they have the right to develop it with the zoning today, but if they don't connect to water and sewer, they would put in a well and septic field. And so here's the site plan for the development. You can see, you know, there is a proposed gas station, convenience store, Denny's restaurant, and Starbucks. And this shows the layout. There are a bunch of EV charging stations, a drive-through, and a landscaped site plan here. And some visual renderings of what this will look like. And when you do an urban boundary amendment in the municipal plan, you're supposed to do a cost-benefit analysis, and there was one done, and there's no significant new cost to the city based on that study. And the overall development will generate an annual tax revenue of approximately $45,000 a year, with a minimal additional cost, because this area is in a serviced area that the roads are plowed, and policing, fire is provided in this area already. There was a servicing study done, and there were no concerns with this development connecting to water and sanitary or stormwater. The city system at this location has the capacity. There was a traffic study done. There were a couple of operational issues with the westbound entrance ramp and the eastbound exit ramp, but these are existing problems. This development will not contribute to making the situation worse. These operational issues have been identified by the Department of Transportation and Infrastructure, and they've been planning to do improvements for many years. And my understanding is they're expected to proceed with the improvements, and there's two primary improvements. One is creating a roundabout as shown here on this map, and creating an additional turning lane on the eastbound exit ramp where it comes out onto Mapleton. And this is the actual amendment here. We're just amending the urban boundary to have this property contained within it so that they can connect to water and sewer. And the recommendation is that Moncton City Council proceed with the proposed municipal plan amendment by giving first reading to the municipal plan amendment, setting a public presentation date for February 3rd, referring the bylaws to the Planning Advisory Committee for written views, and tentatively setting a public hearing date for March 17th. And it should, if approved, should be subject to a resolution with the following conditions shown here and here. So with that, I would turn it back to you, Your Worship.
Terrific. Thank you, Bill. Councillor Edgett, I have you up first. Do you wish to move this recommendation?
Yes, I would move it, Your Worship.
Thank you. Councillor Bourgeois, do you wish to second it?
Okay, but I have a question.
Okay, could we go to the voting, or to the page where we, could I Councillor Edgett to move, Councillor Bourgeois to second. Thank you. Back. Councillor Edgett, did you have a question?
No, not at this time.
Okay. Go ahead, Councillor Bourgeois.
Merci beaucoup, Madame la Maire. Mr. Budd, I've always thought that the serviceable boundary was a line that basically coincided with the water and sewer infrastructure underground, that we would or would not extend the services. So the serviceable boundary and the underground infrastructure coincided. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes, that's sort of part of the background for the urban boundary.
Okay. Now we are asked to modify, this is sort of like an abstract line that we draw. I'll use my hand as a metaphor. This would be from Main Street West, Mountain Road, St. George, Elmwood, and Chidiac Road. So instead of, and these are where the pipes are extended, generally speaking, and we wouldn't draw the urban boundary like this, we would sort of draw it like this, right? Okay, so now we are asked to sort of modify this one at the tip in order to incorporate, but we're not extending any pipes, or?
That's correct.
Okay, so there's something, okay, there's just something wrong with that picture, that the serviceable boundary doesn't coincide with the pipes. So maybe in the urban plan, that would be something to look at, because to me, logically, it doesn't make sense that we would have an urban boundary that doesn't coincide with the pipes, so that in this case, we're not modifying, we're not extending the pipes, but we have to redraw the line?
So another way to look at it was, there's some anomalies around the city, but this was not considered developable land up until recently, when it used to be part of the Department of Transportation Infrastructure street system. So
I get that, but now we're being asked to do a Donald Trump and include Alabama, you know, with the Sharpie marker. So that means that the boundary we had drawn before by excluding, there's got to be a more logical approach to drawing that line, even if this little sliver of land should have been included in the first place, right?
it's a growth management tool too. So it's not just water and sewer, it's where you want to restrict a certain type of development. In this case, when it was originally created, it did not want to see any development beyond that boundary. And circumstances, any service development. Today, it's a different situation. Now that this is privately held, it is zoned highway commercial. For many decades, it was the policy of council to, from an economic development point of view, have highway commercial areas at the gateway interchange entrances into the city. So that's consistent with that. And
all right, I'll just leave it there. And if you can, maybe we shouldn't call it serviceable boundary then in that case. Maybe it should be development boundary or something to, anyways, I'll leave it at that. I've expressed my confusion at this. Merci, Madame la Maire. Merci, Bill.
Councillor Richard.
Merci, Madame la Maire. Thank you, Bill, for the presentation. So if this doesn't go forward, you explained already that they would be able to install a well and still continue. This would still go through, basically. There were numbers in our CRF for approximate tax revenue per year. Let's say 45 grand area. What happens? Is there any difference if we accept this or not? If they go forward without our water and sewer, it's still the same tax revenue?
Yes, but from a sustainability point of view, I don't think you want to have commercial development of this. If you can put it on municipal water and sewer, that's probably better.
Oh, absolutely, and I'm just asking the question for clarification, so. Also, on the westbound off-ramp, where it will be besides or behind it, is there any way to add some no parking signs or something to stop, I'm going to say big trucks or anybody else from stopping there just to go in, pick up a Starbucks and get back in their vehicle and go again?
That would be an engineering question, but, I mean, that's provincial, I believe it's a provincial jurisdiction, so
We can still ask them.
typically see people stopping on exit ramps, but
They stop on the off-ramp, getting off the TCH at Elmwood, and they'll walk over to
okay,
TQ. Do that all the time. They'll just park on the side of the road, then they can continue, they just jump on the highway again, right?
so that would be maybe a enforcement issue that we could explore, if that becomes an issue.
It's an added question I had here.
Yep.
So, I'll vote in favor of the motion, get the process started. Be interested in hearing what the residents from that area, at the public presentation and during the public hearing. Truthfully, I would have rather seen the roundabout at Mapleton and the TCH westbound off-ramp first before proceeding with this development. Everybody's been waiting for that for so long, and it should be a priority, so. Merci beaucoup.
Councillor Butler.
Thank you, Your Worship. Thanks, Bill. I remember the last time we spoke about changing the urban boundaries here. It was quite a night, if you remember. So with this, so they bought this piece of property, the company from the province, so it's surplus to the province, right? So when we let it come, if we let it come into the urban boundary, what's the differentials in the cost of the piece of land? The property, what they paid for it, and then we let it come into the urban boundaries, the price of that property must go up. But there's nothing in here that I see where it says that, it's a nice drawing, but there's nothing really says that the owner couldn't just flip that piece of property now, as soon as we do this, and someone else could build something else there.
Yeah, that's possible, but I think our staff, our team, been working very closely with the developer, the person who wants to do this. They've invested significant amount of money in doing a traffic study, a cost-benefit analysis, the engineering servicing study. My understanding, they want to get going on this development, and so
I have to say that I've heard that one before, though.
Well,
as we well know.
I think,
I hear you.
I've been in meetings with them, so I get the impression they're pretty serious about developing this property.
Well, like Councillor Richard, I'll vote to get it going, but I would also like to hear from the residents up there, especially on that off-ramp. I mean, that's not even my ward, but I hear complaints about it all the time. I know it's provincial, but it comes into municipal, and who do they call, right? So, anyway, I'll leave it there. Thanks, Your Worship.
Thank you. Councillor Legier.
Yeah, thank you. Bill, just wondering, just continuing on that discussion, can there be a condition where, for example, if this was granted for that development, it's for that development, and should it not occur, then that would be revoked, and then if someone else wanted to do something else, they would have to go through the process again. So therefore, it's ensuring that what we're doing is not simply for speculation. I don't have any information that would say otherwise, but could we put a condition?
In the past, we used to put time conditions to get a building permit out and project started. We can review that and maybe run it by the planning advisory. I mean, it has to come back if council proceeds with this. So we can look at that matter and maybe even get more details from the developer on timelines. And
I think it's important now because we have a number of projects, since we've taken the time away from that, we have a number of projects just sitting. And we have no way to ever see them again. It's just so, I think maybe, I understand why we did what we did, but now maybe I think we have to come back and say, on something like this, yes, this is a great project, but we're limiting it to this project, and if it fails, then we'll go to, an application again, which I think would be fair. So it'd be great if you could consider that and be part of the discussion. So, thank you.
Is there anyone who has not spoken on this item who wishes to speak? I will go back to you, Councillor Bourgeois.
Merci. It's in reaction to what Councillor Legere just said. Could you explain the difference between what his suggestion is and condition number 7? I'll quote, "The development shall be carried out in general conformance with the plans and drawings submitted as Schedule B."
The one thing that Councillor Legere, the only difference would be that you're adding a date that they must start this development by. That condition, the one you're talking about, they can't really deviate from.
Right.
That's the only kind of project.
Exactly.
It's got to be, right? But the timing, they're required to start by a certain date or they lose the zoning gets
Okay.
repeated.
But that could be brought up
Yep.
if this goes ahead as an additional condition when it comes back to council.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Merci, Madame le Maire.
Thank you, Councillor Legere. Go ahead.
Just to clarify, Bill, I'm not talking about a date. I'm talking about if they do not fulfill the conditions, which is they're going to develop this way, and they decide that, it's not profitable anymore and I'm going to sell it, or it's not going to be what we're approving, then the condition is that this permission, this connection is null and void.
Yeah.
That's what I mean.
Okay, well-
As opposed to a date, as opposed to just meeting terms and conditions. It's more about the sale. It's more about that extra piece. So in any event, however that is worded,
Okay.
that's what I meant.
All right, I think we're ready to go to the vote. I would ask everyone to indicate on their screen how they vote on this item. And it looks unanimous. Thank you. Thanks, Bill.
Le prochain item, c'est modification de l'arrêté sur les droits et redevances, soit l'arrêté A1324.2. Not sure who is taking this. I believe our solicitor.
Go ahead, Nick.
Thank you, Your Worship, through the members of council. There's really no presentation with this item. This is just to kind of clean up administrative oversight for the fees and charges bylaw. So we're just looking to give second and third readings to this item.
Terrific. Thank you. Is there someone who wishes to move that? Thank you, Councillor Legere, seconded by Councillor Kingston. Any questions on the question? All those in favor signify, sorry. I'm too fast. Okay, mover and seconder. That was moved by Councillor Legere, seconded by Councillor Kingston. If you could indicate on your screen. Thank you. And now we can go to the vote. Sorry. I know, New Year. We're okay? Yeah. Okay, it was, I'm assuming that was a yes? Yes, so it was a unanimous vote. Thank you.
Next is statements by member of council, les exposés des membres du conseil.
Thank you. Go ahead, Councillor Bourgeois.
Merci, Madame le Maire. A few weeks ago, City Council honored 3 persons who contributed to the quality of life of Monctonians: John Dallaire, Debbie Warren, and George Leblanc. Maybe I missed it during the speeches, but I don't recall that former councillor and Mayor George LeBlanc was recognized adequately for his leadership of downtown revitalization. Indeed, it was George who spearheaded the revitalization in 2010 when he appointed the City Planning Committee. He met with Councillor Merrill Henderson and I as co-chairs to impress upon us the importance of downtown revitalization. He probably did the same with most, if not all, other members. He also attended some of the committee's meetings to repeat his message that policies must be developed to reinvigorate our downtown. Beforehand, his vision was shared by a lot of people, myself included, but it was not translated into action until George insisted it play a big part in the next plan. The plan, adopted in 2013 and still in effect today, 12 years later, includes many sections dedicated to downtown. For example, quote, "Council shall establish a downtown designation area." And second, within the downtown designation area, council shall pursue the continued development of downtown Moncton as a high-quality urban environment by, among other things, allowing a high density of building and land use, recognizing and promoting downtown as the primary and preferred location for office, civic, and cultural uses, discouraging surface parkings and adopting other strategies to address parking needs in the downtown, exploring opportunities to transform Main Street into a pedestrian mall environment during summer months, undertaking other initiatives that would promote the continued development of downtown Moncton as a high-quality urban environment, and continuing to work with Downtown Moncton Centreville and other partners to coordinate and help implement the Downtown Strategic Plan that was also adopted by his council. Some of these ideas have since been blocked by council, but most have been implemented since 2013. George's leadership led to the adoption of several strategies and incentive programs that sought to reinvigorate our downtown. George deserves all the credit for launching and formalizing the vision that has produced all the results we see today and will see in the near future, at least until the upcoming plan. I just wanted to remind our citizens of George's leadership on downtown development because, if I recall correctly, it was not properly acknowledged during the recent ceremony to award him the Order of Moncton. Also, I wanted to make sure that George gets the credit he deserves and no one else claims it. Merci, Madame la Maire.
I don't see any other comments at this time.
The next are recommendations from the private meeting of January 13, 2025. Moncton City Council at its private meeting of January 13, 2025 reports the agenda for the private meeting of January 13, 2025 was adopted and recommends the following. 1, that Moncton City Council accept the property identified as PID 00770644 located at Donald Avenue, Moncton, and direct administration to 1, enter into an agreement with the landowners Ernest Boudreau and Raymond Thibodeau for the gift of PID 00770644 on an as-is basis as prepared at the direction of the city's legal department, and provided that fencing and additional notice signage to secure the Sunnybury Rink ruins be installed prior to the city taking ownership, and attend to the demolition and removal of sections of the ruins that are unsafe without delay before or after closing, as may be determined at the discretion of the city. And 2, if possible, preserve a west-facing section of the ruins with the approximate scale of 20 to 30 feet in length, with scale to be determined by independent engineering consultant option. And 3, incorporate interpretive panels as part of the trail boardwalk construction. And 4, that this be funded from the council's contingency account up to a maximum of $175,000, and that the mayor and city clerk be authorized to execute all necessary documents to give effect to the proposed acquisition of lands by the city and to affix the corporate seal of the city of Moncton thereto. The background on this is the owners of the property contained the Sunnybury Rinks ruins have approached the city with an offer to gift the property in question to the city of Moncton. Some of the property is required to build the Panacady Trail Boardwalk, and the site has some historical significance to the area. Due to the structural conditions of the ruin, keeping the entire structure would present a major safety risk and would therefore be a significant liability to the city. However, a small portion could be preserved, embraced, and an outlook platform with an interpretive panel could be built as part of the Panacady Trail Boardwalk construction. It is recommended that the fence be installed to secure the property and mitigate risk, liability to the city, and increase security and safety to the public and residents prior to the city assuming ownership of the property.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Terrio, do you wish to move this recommendation?
Oui, Madame la Maire, mais j'aimerais aussi de...
Okay, and Councillor Crossman, do you wish to second? Could we go to that page, please?
Merci, Madame la Maire.
I would just ask for you to move in second. It's coming. There we go. Thank you. Back to you, Deputy Mayor Terrio.
Merci, Madame la Maire. En fait, je veux remercier le personnel pour le travail sur ce dossier. C'est un dossier dont on parle depuis que je suis élue, mais je suis certaine qu'on en parlait avant. Donc, ce soir, je voudrais aussi mentionner le conseiller Landry, qui avait justement, à l'époque, qui était très préoccupé par ces ruines et qui nous en a souvent parlé. Donc, ce soir, je voudrais qu'on reconnaisse aussi son apport dans ce projet. On a eu beaucoup de discussions, que ce soit au niveau du comité du patrimoine. On a eu des visites lors de la semaine du patrimoine où on allait visiter ce lieu. C'est un lieu qui est reconnu historiquement, donc c'est un lieu patrimonial, c'est l'histoire de Moncton. The other issue that is really wonderful about this, and I hope we can tell the story with panels or whatever design that we decide to go with, because it was built round. It was a round structure, which really connects with Avenir, because Avenir is also, and I think this was the first arena in Moncton, if I'm not mistaken. So I also want to take a moment to thank the owners, Monsieur Ernest Boudreau et Monsieur Raymond Thibodeau. Donc, merci à ces gens et j'espère qu'on aura éventuellement non seulement des ruines, mais qu'on pourra aussi raconter l'histoire, une page importante de l'histoire de notre ville, et que ça va être inclus dans un lieu où il va faire bon marcher, se promener en bicyclette, faire de la raquette peut-être l'hiver, en tout cas, espérons. Donc, merci à tous.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Councillor Bourgeois.
Merci, Madame la Maire. Moi aussi, j'aimerais remercier M. Boudreau et M. Thibodeau pour un don. Ils donnent le terrain à la ville de Moncton. Je suis d'accord en principe avec le reste de la résolution. On voulait surtout acquérir le terrain pour construire le sentier. Mais je dois voter contre et je vais expliquer pourquoi. Il y a une partie de la premier paragraphe qui dit qu'on va procéder à la démolition des ruines qui ne sont pas sécuritaires dans les plus brefs délais. Et moi, je suis d'avis qu'on vient juste de recevoir ça. On devrait prendre un petit peu plus de temps et d'essayer d'explorer à savoir si on pourrait organiser une campagne de financement, aider des groupes qui seraient intéressés. S'il n'y a personne qui est intéressé, c'est une autre chose. Mais s'il y a des gens qui seraient intéressés de préserver le monument, le réhabiliter, qu'on ferait une campagne de financement, GoFundMe, peu importe. Je pense qu'on aurait dû donner ou on devrait prendre le temps pour le faire et essayer au moins. Si ça marche pas, on reviendra à ceci. Mais je serai obligé, entre-temps, de voter contre. Merci, Madame le maire.
Thank you. I see no one else. I think we can, oh, sorry, go ahead. I saw someone's, Councillor Leger, go ahead.
Thank you. Just a comment, I guess, if indeed the we move forward with the demolition, could we consider recycling some of the stones and so on from that facility? Similar to what was done with the, I think it was some of the structure, I think from the Gunningsville Bridge that was repurposed in Centennial Park that now is a border wall. So rather than just simply bring a bulldozer in and go to landfill. So maybe that's something that staff could come back to council and with a plan. I think ecologically it would be sound, and understanding that there's a sense of urgency, but it is also my understanding that a fence will go around the property following this decision if it is to move forward, and maybe that buys a bit of time as well, so that if there was interest, as was suggested, perhaps from other groups and so on, that you could explore that. But at the end of the day, if it is demolition, then a repurposing would be very beneficial. So leave it at that. Thank you.
Terrific, thank you. On the vote. And it passes 10 yea votes, 1 nay vote. Councillor Bourgeois.
The next is the second recommendation, that Moncton City Council approve the transition of all current 19 community officers' contracted service positions to the City of Moncton employees. The backgrounder on this is the Corps of Commissioners provided notice to the city of its intention to discontinue the provision of officers for the City Community Safety Officers Program. This program is a cornerstone of the city's overall safety strategy dedicated to maintaining a secure environment for all residents. Community officers play a pivotal role by promoting public safety through proactive patrolling, engaging with the community, enforcing city bylaws, and responding to non-emergency incidents. As the program has evolved and proven its effectiveness, and given that the Corps Commissioners has withdrawn their services, transitioning these roles to permanent city positions would provide the City of Moncton with greater control over recruitment and program management. It would also help ensure a seamless transition and continued success of its community safety program in terms of recruitment, retention, and operational readiness.
Terrific. Councillor Butler, do you wish to move this recommendation?
I do.
Thank you. And Councillor Leger, do you wish to second? Okay, so we could go to that page, please. Indicate. Thank you. Any questions? Seeing none, I think we can vote.
City Shaw is not here.
Motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
The next item is that City Council approve the tentative 5-year collective agreement with the Amalgamated Transit Union, ATU Local 1290, based on the information contained with this council report form of January 13, 2025, and having been ratified by ATU membership, and further that the mayor and the city clerk be authorized to sign all necessary documents and affix the corporate seal thereto. The backgrounder on this is a collective agreement with the Amalgamated Transit Union Local 1290 expired on December 31st, 2024. The transit union, representing 83 employees employed in the areas of service person, mechanic, lead mechanic, and bus operators. The tentative agreement provides for an increase of 16.5% over 5 years. A 5-year agreement would also ensure no legal labor shortages for an extended period. Life of the contract agreement, which is important to the city in this time of growth and uncertainty. New language has been negotiated in contract to include a mechanics apprenticeship program and remove the off-season bonus week provision. The agreement will also see ATU employees receive 4 weeks vacation in year 5 instead of year 10, which is consistent with other union contracts.
Thank you. Councillor Legier, do you wish to move this recommendation?
I would move the recommendation.
Thank you. And Councillor LeBlanc, you wish to second? Could we go to that page, please? The mover and seconder, please indicate. Terrific. Thank you. Are there any questions? I think we can go to the vote. And it passes unanimously. Thank you. Congratulations to the negotiating team and to the union. It sounds like it's good all round.
Next is the fourth recommendation with respect to a formal code of conduct complaint received regarding the conduct of Mayor Don Arnold, that the Moncton City Council accept the findings of an independent investigator that Mayor Arnold did not breach the code of conduct bylaw. And the background is a formal complaint was received from an elected official pursuant to the City of Moncton's Code of Conduct for Elected Official bylaw regarding the conduct of Mayor Arnold. Certitude Workplace Investigation was retained as a third-party investigator to conduct an independent investigation into the complaint, which concluded that Mayor Arnold was not in breach of the bylaw. In accordance with the Local Governance Act and the bylaw, the details of the investigation and council's deliberation are held in strict confidence.
Thank you. Councillor Edgett, do you wish to move this recommendation?
Yes, I do. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Thank you, Councillor LeBlanc. I would ask that you indicate on the screen. Thank you. Questions? Go ahead, Councillor Bourgeois.
Probably one for the city clerk after. Si je comprends bien, ici, on demande au Conseil de ratifier une décision prise en privé en vertu de l'article 64 de la loi sur la gouvernance locale, et je vais le citer, validité des mesures. Toutes les décisions du Conseil sont à la fois prises au cours de ces réunions ordinaires ou extraordinaires, adoptées par voie d'arrêté ou de résolution du Conseil, c'est ce qu'on fait. Donc, toutes les décisions qu'on prend en privé doivent être ratifiées en public, c'est ce qu'on fait maintenant.
Oui.
OK. Je vais ajouter un autre paragraphe de cet article 64-là. Les mesures ou les décisions que prend le Conseil ne sont valides que si elles sont autorisées ou adoptées par voie d'arrêté ou de résolution à l'une de ces réunions. Même chose, c'est ça qu'on fait aujourd'hui.
Oui.
Merci. Deuxième question. Le Conseil est toutefois interdit de discuter des détails en vertu de l'article 68 de la loi sur la gouvernance locale et en vertu de l'article 10 de l'arrêté municipal sur nos réunions, c'est-à-dire les réunions à huis clos. Et je cite la loi ici, les réunions du Conseil ou celles de l'un de ses comités peuvent être tenues à huis clos, pas doivent être tenues à huis clos, mais peuvent. Le Conseil pourrait discuter de cet enjeu ici en public si le Conseil le voulait.
Oui, si le Conseil le voulait, oui.
Parfait. Et est-ce qu'on peut me dire, vous l'avez dit là, the details of the investigation and council's deliberations are to be held in strict confidence. D'après quelle clause de l'article 68 ça justifie qu'on garde notre public, nos citoyens ignorants des détails?
So that actually is in the Code of Conduct bylaw, not in the Local Governance Act. It's a section in our Code of Conduct bylaw. I'd have to look it up to find the exact section, but that's it talks about the details that remain public or private and the details that are public.
You don't remember what clause?
I can quickly find it for you.
Sure. I'll ask another question while you're doing that, if you can multitask at the same time?
Sure.
Okay, I'll try. Can somebody request through, was it FOIP or RTIPA, request information, get a copy of the emails that were exchanged on this matter, and then they would get all of the information, the details, except for the investigation, of course, but...
So all of the requests that we received through our TIPA would be subject to the exceptions that are under the Right to Information and Protection of Privacy Act. So there are exceptions related to investigations, personnel investigations, harassment investigations, that kind of thing. So we'd have to put it through that lens, and any information that should be exempted would be redacted from that record.
Right,
that
so
was
the investigation
submitted publicly.
report would not be available, but the email should be. There's nothing confidential about the emails.
Which emails are you referring to?
That led to the investigation.
Potentially, yes.
Okay. All right, did you get time to...
1 second.
I'll ask je vais demander la question à la greffière, ça te donnera un petit brin plus de temps. Madame la greffière, est-ce que toutes les décisions du Conseil qui ont porté sur les enquêtes afférentes aux infractions au code de conduite des membres du Conseil, comme c'est le cas ici, est-ce que toutes ces décisions-là ont été ratifiées en public, comme qu'on fait aujourd'hui depuis 2016?
Une coupe ont été amenées au public, mais pas tout.
Pas toutes. Est-ce qu'on pourrait me faire parvenir une copie de toutes les ratifications en public, ainsi que les décisions qui ont été prises en privé, mais qui n'ont pas été ratifiées, contrairement à ce que je comprends que la loi nous demande de faire?
Oui.
OK. Alors là, je vais ajouter une question à M. Robichaud. Je ne comprends pas, là, j'ai posé la question au début, à savoir si toutes les décisions du Conseil doivent être prises au cours de ces réunions ordinaires, et les mesures ou les décisions que prend le Conseil ne sont valides que si elles sont autorisées ou adoptées par voie d'arrêté ou de résolution à l'une de ces réunions. Si je comprends Madame la greffière, il y a eu des décisions prises en privé qui n'ont jamais été ratifiées en public?
Oui, mais je n'ai pas les détails de ces décisions-là maintenant, donc je ne peux pas répondre à cette question.
OK. Je reviendrai à la prochaine réunion. Alors, je répète ma question. Quelle justification légale empêche nos citoyens et nos citoyennes de connaître les détails de cette matière?
Oui, c'est l'article 64 dans l'arrêté sur le code de déontologie des représentants élus. L'article 64.
Est-ce que vous pouvez la citer?
Oui. While the fact of complaint has been filed as a public record, the details of the complaint, the investigation, and the resulting deliberations of council at the meeting are to be held in strict confidence. However, council's finding on whether a violation of this code has occurred and what, if any, sanction is to be imposed will be made public in an open session of council by resolutions made to that effect.
And is that respectful of the provincial legislation?
In my opinion, yes.
Okay. Thank you very much. Merci, Madame la Maire.
Well, I do not see any other questions at this time. I believe we could go to the vote. And the motion passes unanimously.
The final recommendation is with respect to the formal code of conduct complaint received regarding the conduct of Councillor Charles Legier, that Moncton City Council accept the finding of an independent investigation that Councillor Legier did not breach the code of conduct bylaw. Background on this, a formal complaint was received from an elected official pursuant to the City of Moncton's Code of Conduct for Elected Official bylaw regarding the conduct of Councillor Legier. Certitude Workplace Investigations was retained retained as a third-party investigator to conduct an independent investigation into the complaint, which concluded that Councillor Legier was not in breach of the bylaw. In accordance with the Local Governance Act and the bylaw, the details of the investigation and council's deliberations are to be held in strict confidence.
Terrific. Thank you. Councillor Edgett, do you wish to move this recommendation?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. Is there a seconder for it? Thank you, Councillor LeBlanc. I would ask that you indicate on your screens. Thank you. I don't see any questions. I think we can go to the vote. And the motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
The next item is reports from administration. Il y a rapport de l'administration. This evening, there is only one. 10.1 is award of quotation QP 24089, residential and commercial plumbing services. The motion before council is that Moncton City Council approve the award of quotation QP 24089, residential and commercial plumbing services to the lowest bidder meeting the terms and condition and specifications set out in the quotation, being Erman Plumbing and Heating Limited, with a total estimated annual contract value of $290,375, including HST at 15%, for a one-year period with options to extend the agreement up to a maximum of 4 additional 12-month periods if it's in the city's best interest to do so.
Thank you. Councillor Richard, do you wish to move this recommendation?
Yes, and I'd have a question.
Thank you. Next up is Councillor Bourgeois. Do you wish to second?
I do, and I have a question.
Okay. Back to you, Councillor Richard. Go ahead. Oh, sorry. Forgot that. Move and seconder, please. That's you, Councillor Bourgeois.
I did.
Yeah, but I need a seconder, and it was Councillor Bourgeois.
Yeah, excuse.
All right. Councillor Richard, go ahead.
Okay, merci, Madame la Maire. Not sure who's going to answer it, but it came in with one bid only, and so no disrespect to Erman Plumbing, but do you have any idea why there were no other bids?
Our CFO is online, and I think he can take that. Go
There
ahead,
he is.
Jacques.
There's Jacques.
Hello. Thank you, Your Worship, to Councillor Richard. So just a couple of things here that's a little unique. I think we recognize that there's a critical shortage of licensed plumbers. We're competing against residential construction, which is booming in the greater Moncton community. So that would explain one area. I think there's a big demand for plumbers. So that is one thing. Second thing as well, that can be a little bit more complicated for companies to bid on such a contract is we need our plumbers to be security cleared if they ever work on the police stations. So in that event, that's not a typical requirement that most plumbing companies would have. So the bigger companies can provide that with some employees. And the last one as well is plumbers normally, or plumbing companies or contracted companies like these ones, they normally do not answer at your beck and call. Okay, we need you next week, or we need you today to do this work. You're normally put in a queue. Okay, I'll be there in 2 weeks, or I'll be there in a week, or something like that. Versus our contracts, whether it be for capital construction or things like that, we have a kind of an on-demand service, so they will come away. So those are kind of the three reasons that we only received the bidder that we know of. Of course, this went to the public, a public tendering process, so all companies could bid on this, but I think for those reasons, we only received one.
Yeah, no, I understand. It's somewhat bothering to see that only one company would have bid on this, so that's why I was asking the question. Merci beaucoup.
Councillor Bourgeois.
Merci beaucoup, Madame la Maire. Donc, à Jacques, je suis un petit peu confus par la terminologie qui change un petit peu entre services, matériaux. Dans le dernier paragraphe de la première la première page du rapport au Conseil. Je cite, "As this is a time and materials-based contract." Au début, ça dit, "Quotation was issued to retain the services of a licensed plumbing." Et dans la résolution, on accorde le contrat pour les services. Et finalement, dans la section finance, les considérations financières, ça dit que la ville a dépensé à peu près 300 000 $ dans les heures de travail et 70 000 $ dans les matériaux pour 2022-2023. Là, il n'y a pas de données plus récentes, mais ça, c'est pas grave. Ça fait, ma question, c'est est-ce que le 290 000 $, qui est le montant de la soumission, est-ce que ça inclut les matériaux ou pas?
Merci, conseiller Bourgeois. Il va falloir que je te revienne avec ça. De mon côté, les matériaux, c'est les matériaux qu'on a besoin. Donc, si que le plombier installe quelque chose, il va nous facturer pour le matériau plus le service. Donc, je peux certainement te revenir avec cette question. Du côté du 290 000 $, c'est juste un estimé. On l'utilise basé sur le besoin. Si on n'a pas de besoin, on n'utilise pas. Donc, je peux revenir.
OK, parce que ça fait ce que ça vaut. Il y a juste une soumission, ça fait on ne saura pas la différence. Mais si je regarde ça juste comme sur la surface de la chose, ça nous coûtait 300 000 par année à peu près auparavant. Maintenant, ça va nous coûter 290 000. Donc, on sauverait à peu près 10 000 $. Bien sûr, il peut y avoir des choses imprévues là, au fur et à mesure, comme vous l'avez dit. Mais on sauverait également 70 000 $ en matériaux si c'est inclus dans la soumission. Ça ferait une épargne pour nos contribuables d'environ 80 000 $ par année, toutes choses étant égales. Sinon, c'est à peu près kiff-kiff, right?
Ben, de ce côté-ci, avec ce contrat, c'est vraiment, les coûts peuvent fluctuer beaucoup d'une année à l'autre. Si on a une année, par exemple, où on a beaucoup de projets de projets capitaux, des constructions de la rue avec du temporary water, on va l'utiliser beaucoup plus. Puis si on l'a pas, donc c'est pas nécessairement un service qui est consistant d'année en année. Donc il n'y a pas vraiment d'épargne. Nous autres, on va utiliser le service au besoin. Puis lorsqu'on utilise ce service, ça fait partie des budgets des différents projets capitaux ou opérationnels basés sur le besoin. Donc si on n'aurait pas de projets capitaux, on n'utilisera pas beaucoup ce service. Si c'est une année où on a beaucoup de construction routière avec l'eau et l'égout, on va l'utiliser beaucoup plus. Donc, il n'y a pas nécessairement une épargne ici. Puis, si on paye pour les matériaux, il faudra nous-mêmes les payer, que ce soit à l'interne ou à l'externe. Ça vient au même.
Donc, ce n'est pas inclus de la soumission.
Je vais revenir avec les détails. Je ne suis pas certain, mais ça n'a aucun impact sur la municipalité parce qu'on va seulement payer pour les choses qu'on a besoin.
Non, ça je comprends. Ma question ne portait pas sur les services non plus, ça portait sur les matériaux, à savoir si la soumission demandait d'inclure les matériaux ou pas. Et dans ce cas-là, c'est une meilleure épargne que si ça ne l'inclut pas, c'est tout. Mais oui, OK. Si vous pouvez nous fournir cette information-là par après, j'apprécierais beaucoup. Merci, M. Doucette. Merci, Mme le maire.
Merci. So at this point, I don't see any other questions. I think we can go to the vote. And the motion passes unanimously. Oh, no, it didn't, not yet. Do we vote?
No,
Okay.
you guys voted, that's fine. It just didn't show up on mine. Here.
That's just to confirm everyone was affirmative, just to make sure? Okay, good.
Okay.
All right.
Sorry about that. New technology. Okay, next is the reading of bylaws, the lecture des arrêtés. The first one this evening is first reading for Queensway, and Council's already given me permission for that. A bylaw and amendment of a bylaw relating to the adoption of the City of Moncton Municipal Plan, being bylaw Z122.12, 70 Queensway. It's a first reading. Arrêté portant modification de l'arrêté concernant l'adoption du plan municipal de la ville de Moncton, soit l'arrêté Z22.12 70 rue Queensway. C'est la première lecture. And I believe that there is another bylaw to read for this as the zoning bylaw. I will check to make sure. Was there two bylaws to read? Just 1 second, bear with me.
I think there was just the one.
Just the one, okay?
Well, I don't know. Nick, can you confirm that?
So usually there's a,
This was just the one bylaw.
Okay.
one bylaw, perfect. Just want to make sure. Okay. Then the second would be for second and third reading of the fees and rates and charges for city, for the services provided by the city. I'll need somebody for second reading.
Is there someone to move the second reading? Thank you, Councillor Richard, second by Councillor Steves. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Oh, do we have to? No. Okay. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
A bylaw and amendment of a bylaw, fees, rates, and charges for the services provided by the City of Moncton, being bylaw A1324.2. It's a second reading. Arrêté portant modification de l'arrêté concernant les droits, tarifs et les redevances pour les services fournis par la Ville de Moncton sur l'arrêté A1324.2. C'est la deuxième lecture. Third reading.
Is there someone who wishes to move the third reading? Thank you, Councillor Richard, seconded by Councillor Kingston. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
A bylaw and amendment of a bylaw for the fees, rates, and charges for services provided by the City of Moncton, being bylaw A1324.2. It's a third reading. Arrêté portant modification de l'arrêté concernant les droits, tarifs et redevances pour les services fournis par la Ville de Moncton sur l'arrêté A1324.2. C'est la troisième lecture. Next, we have removed notices of motion and resolutions for the animal control, and I believe that you have some appointments. Your
I
Worship.
do, actually. Tonight, to the Cultural Board, Natalia Hadish from the Ukrainian Association of Moncton and Marc-André Charon from Satellite Theatre. To the Moncton Public Library Board, Caitlin Robertson, replacing Diane Ross. To the Planning Advisory Committee, Melanie Cormier, replacing Steve Truman. Dale Briggs, reappointment. Maxime Gauvin, reappointment. Ketan Rival, reappointment. And to the Youth Advisory Committee, Ryan Kim from Moncton Christian Academy, replacing Nicholas Dwyer. Is there someone who wishes to move this? Thank you, Councillor Richard, seconded by Councillor Legier. On the vote? Oh, sorry, mover and seconder, please. Thank you. Who seconded it? I'm sorry. Councillor Legier. Was it Legier? Okay, thank you. And on the vote. Oh, any questions? No questions. Okay, on the vote. And the motion passes unanimously. Thank you. I do believe that concludes tonight's agenda. Councillor Richard, would you do us the honors? Motion to adjourn. Thank you very much.